Hiya! Welcome! I'm really excited to be doing another record mail opening or unboxing with you today. I'm excited by them all, but this one in particular, and there's 3 records in here that I'm going to show you. It's the start of a new collection, and it's a collection that I've been threatening to do and been thinking about and considering for quite some time. Now these 3 records, it was an order placed at mutebank.co.uk, which is the online store for Mute Records, one of Britain's leading independent record labels, has been since the late 70s. Some great acts are on Mute Records on their roster. New Order have been on there for about 8 or so years now. Erasure, Depeche Mode, they've both been Mute artists for quite some years now, decades in fact, and many others too numerous to list, including this act in here, who are rather more obscure and not as well known as some of the other artists and groups I've just listed, but I've been a fan of them for quite a few years now. Never collected any of their music until today. Mutebank had a 20% off everything sale that began on Boxing Day. I can't remember the total price, probably just under £50, which isn't bad for 3 records. With 20% off, I think there was nearly £10 off the whole order as well. It was like getting free postage really, and then maybe a few pence off the actual price of the records. But hey, a saving's a saving. Right, let's get into this, and I can show you who this group are and talk about them. It's a group who I think avant-garde might be the best way of describing them, but they certainly aren't particularly well known here in the UK. I think over on continental Europe they are a little bit more famous, for want of a better term. So we're getting this mailer open. Got the records out here, just have a quick look at this invoice. That all looks fine and dandy from what I can tell. Alright. Ah, yes. Oh, hang on. I've got another Mutebank or Mute Records sticker there. I'm never sure which way up these are supposed to go. I got one of these last time I placed an order at Mutebank, which would have been for New Order's Be a Rebel remixes single that came out around summer last year. I'm so happy. Right, 3 albums, never owned anything by this group, by this band before, but been a fan of them for quite some years, and I'm talking about Laibach. Who? And I hear you saying, who are Laibach? Get that a lot. Even acts that I think have actually crossed over quite well to the UK. I'll get a lot of my friends and subscribers in the comments, oh, never heard of such and such, but I will forgive you for not being familiar with Laibach. So, who are Laibach? I was going to struggle really to kind of describe them efficiently, but then I realised something. I realised that I've got an artificially intelligent friend here in the room, so why don't I just let her tell you? Alexa, Wikipedia, Laibach.
Here's the Wikipedia article on Laibach. Laibach is a Slovenian avant-garde music group associated with the industrial martial and neoclassical genres. Formed in the mining town of Tabalier in 1980, Laibach represents the musical wing of the Neue Slowenische Kunst Collective, a group which Laibach helped found in 1984. Laibach is the German historical name for the Slovenian capital Ljubljana, itself an oblique reference to the Nazi occupation of Slovenia in World War II. From the early days, the band was subject to controversies and bans due to their elaborate use of iconography with ambiguously repugnant parodies and pastiches of elements from totalitarianism, nationalism and militarism, a concept they have preserved throughout their career. Censored and banned in socialist Yugoslavia, and receiving a kind of dissident status, the band embarked on international tours and gradually acquired international fame. After Slovenia became independent in 1991, Laibach's status in the country has turned from rejection to promotion into a national cultural icon, which included performances with the Slovenian Symphony Orchestra. Would you like me to continue?
No. And it goes on and on. So that's kind of an introduction to Laibach that is, although probably still going over the heads of a lot of people, myself included really. I mean, I really need to do some proper thorough reading on them. It's at least a lot more coherent than what I could say. So yeah, Laibach, Slovenian avant-garde, neo-martial, neo-classical industrial group. I was first introduced to them in a way when they did a remix, although it was less a remix and more of just them reworking the song themselves and using the existing vocals of a Rammstein track on a single from, that would have been early or mid-noughties, I think. Since then, it's a band that's intrigued me, but not intrigued me enough to sort of really collect them until now. When I was looking on Mutebank, everything 20% off. A lot of acts on there, as I say, that I am a fan of. I mean, New Order, I collect everything that they do pretty much. I've also collected a lot of Depeche Mode. I do like Erasure. They're a group who I've not got an awful lot in my collection. A couple of albums on cassette currently is all at the moment. Oh, and a 12-inch single as well. Moving back to Laibach, I'm going to show you which albums I've got. 2 of these are on standard black vinyl records, so I'm not going to get them open, but the third one, the last one I'll show you, is on coloured disc, so I think I may have to get that open and show you. So these aren't in any order, I don't think, they're just how I grabbed them. But this album is also Spracht Zarathustra. Wasn't that the Ric Flair entrance theme and the 2001 Space Odyssey soundtrack? But in Laibach's case, from what I know about this album, and I just got what was available by them on Mute on vinyl record, I didn't really care what I got as long as I got some Laibach on LP. But I think this is like a kind of soundtrack to, not a film, I think it might be some sort of play somehow, and they've done the soundtrack on it. It looks like there's 9 tracks on this album. I think this album originally came out around 2017-ish. All the tracks are in German, or at least the titles are in German anyway. But this is also Spracht Zarathustra, butchering that pronunciation. I know, I do apologise to any German or Central Europeans who may be watching. I like that Mute sticker that they've put on the cellophane there, that's nice. I'll probably try and conserve that. So that's one to show you. Sorry, I can't really talk a lot about them. The next one, I think, was their most recent kind of normal studio album. I mean, they've done all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, and the last thing that I'm going to show you is a perfect example of that. But this one is, I believe, called Spectre. Trying to see the year on this, it's very difficult as it's small text. I think it's probably either the album before or the album after the one I just showed you. Also Spracht Zarathustra. But this is called Spectre. How many tracks is on here? 9 by the look of it. Kind of like a normal, if you want to call them normal, studio album. Their most recent one. This one on standard black disc again. This is the most interesting one, really. Not only in the fact that this is going to be on coloured records, but also as it's a good example of just kind of the unusual approach Laibach take to releasing albums and making music. Obviously, everyone knows what a cover version is. I'm quite partial to indulging in one myself on Smule, as you will all know. Laibach kind of take it one stage further. They don't just cover songs, like tracks. They've covered whole albums, and they've done it, and I don't think it's come out on vinyl record in quite some years, so I either need to look for a cheap second-hand copy or keep my fingers crossed that it gets a re-release. But they've done one for Let It Be, the whole Beatles album, or they've done at least 1 or 2 more, apart from the one I'm holding in my hand. But this is an interesting one that was on Mutebank, and it is their version of the Sound of Music soundtrack. So yeah, I'm so intrigued by this. I mean, The Sound of Music, one of the biggest movies of all time. When did it originally come out? Was it 1950s or early 1960s? This is Laibach totally doing their version in a kind of industrial Marshall style of that film soundtrack. So there's going to be stuff like Climb Every Mountain on here, Edelweiss. I am no expert. My mother is a big fan of the Sound of Music movie, so she'd be able to tell you more of the songs, and sadly, with my eyes and the ring light, yada yada yada, I can't really read much of what's going on the back, but it does give the track listing. It's an interesting cover, this, as well, because I think this Sound of Music release coincided with, they did a trip to North Korea, which, as a lot of people will know, Westerners going to North Korea is pretty rare, and they did like a kind of gig and cultural event sort of thing. And I think this cover here, which shows, I think this is probably the lead singer of Laibach, and he's surrounded by, I think, a Korean family, certainly Korean children sitting with him with their military uniforms on. I just find Laibach really interesting, not just the music, but kind of what they represent. They harken back to, for me, a really interesting period, the Cold War, post-World War II, and the rise of the Berlin Wall. I'm very interested in history from World War II, certainly, up till kind of the late 80s, turn of the 1990s, when it was that period of Cold War and all these communist countries were on the Eastern Bloc, controlled by the Soviet Union. And then, of course, here in the West, it was all America, etc. And I think Laibach, coming from Slovenia, which would have been, I think, part of communist Yugoslavia at the time, and had a lot of German influences as well, like East German, certainly. It's difficult to articulate, really, but fascinating stuff to me. I will get this open, because I want to have a look at what colour these discs are. I say discs, it might be one, it might be two, I can't remember. I know what colour the disc is, but I won't give any spoilers out until we do the big reveal. There we are. Relatively neat as well, unusually for me. So as we get The Sound of Music by Laibach out. Is this a gatefold? Yeah, I think it is actually. I think this is gatefold sleeve. Looks to be just one disc, I reckon, as this don't feel heavy enough to have got another disc in it. But here's the inner sleeve. It's got that real sort of Korean / communist propaganda to it. Well, there is a download code there, I think. If anyone wants to use that, then take a screenshot if you can see it alright. If that's not come out very well on the video and anyone is interested in getting this album digitally, then shoot me a message and I will send it to you. Right. Oh, look at that. Now, to my eyes, it's looking kind of dull, but I do believe this will look pretty nice in editing, at the very least. A nice golden coloured record here, The Sound of Music. I do like the centre label on what I think is side B of a deer kind of creature. Yeah, just unusual stuff, but I do have an affinity for the unusual and the out there. No one wants to listen to Ed fucking Sheeran and that sort of tripe for the rest of their lives. You know, this kind of thing, it's a real horizon broadener, if that's even a real term. And there we are, Laibach's Sound of Music, a whole album that existed many decades previous as a film soundtrack, covered by the band. As I say, I could only remember their Let It Be by the Beatles album cover version as I'm standing here, and I really want that. I'm going to have to hopefully find a reasonably priced, good condition copy of that album on Discogs or somewhere going forward, as I do want to get more in this Laibach collection. That I think there's quite a lot of stuff to get. If I don't get a complete collection, it's fine. I'm just happy with having this little bundle of Laibach goodness here today from Mutebank. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this record mail opening video featuring 3 Laibach albums, all fairly recent, from within the last 6 to 7 years, I think. Hopefully I will be showing you more Laibach LPs on this channel in the near future. Special thanks go to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. Please see my usual affiliate links and my Patreon link and Facebook group link all down in the description text box below. Patreon is a great way of helping me out, giving me a bit extra support for the work that I do on this channel, and I do work on this channel every day to try and make it the best for both myself and, more importantly, for anyone who watches, such as your good selves. I'm going to go now, and I've got to listen to Laibach, obviously. Possibly start with The Sound of Music, as this is the one that I've opened, and this might be the oldest, sort of, in chronological terms, of the 3 that I've bought today. So if I'm going to listen to them in chronological order, and I could be wrong, like I say, I'm a bit of a newbie, really, when it comes to actually really having a deep dive into this band. But deep dive is what I shall do, and I can't wait to listen to these 3 albums, The Sound of Music, also Sprach Zarathustra and Spectre, and hopefully more in the future. And I do hope that all of you will join myself next time for my next record collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!